on Life and Science with Pallav Bagla, a show all about science and technology. Today, I am eating a potato chip. Tasty. But today's episode is not about potato chips, but about computer chips. India is already considered a software superpower. But now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also wants India to become a hardware hub. The government has announced a semiconductor mission and a whole ecosystem to be developed around it. Chips are considered the new oil and the new engine of growth for the economy. This episode of Life and Science with Pallav Bagla is all about computer chips and the ecosystem which India wants to develop around it, all in the process of making a self-reliant or an Atmanirbhar Bharat. India is already considered a software superpower. But now, the country also wants to invest heavily in semiconductors and become a hardware hub. A new policy initiative has been announced. To explain to us the details of this semiconductor mission, we have with us Dr. V.K. Saraswat. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
Dr. Saraswat was the former head of the Defense Research and Development Organization and now member science at the Niti Aayog. Someone who gave India the Prithvi missile, India's intercontinental ballistic missile Agni 5, and also gave India its nuclear triad, and somebody who's played a key role in formulating India's semiconductor policy, which will help in making of a digital India. Thanks a lot for finding time with us, Dr. Saraswat. Very briefly, can you explain to us what this new semiconductor initiative is?
This semiconductor initiative is basically to create a very strong ecosystem in the country for design, manufacturing and export of the semiconductor devices from our country. You will know that for every electronics gadget which is manufactured today, whether it is a cell phone or it is a laptop or a desktop or a television, there is no electronics without semiconductor chips. And it is important for us to have self-reliance in this particular area, because so far we are completely dependent on the import of this item. So this mission has been announced basically to bring in that kind of an ecosystem in the country, which will ensure that our electronics manufacturing gets the boost and we have a complete self-reliance in the design, development, manufacturing and production of semiconductor devices in the country.
Within this, will this also help power the economy?
Certainly, when you create an ecosystem of this class, where the investment is going to be more than 1,16,000 crores, where you are going to have employment generated to the tune of direct employment about 35,000 and also indirect employment to the tune of about 1 lakh people. Imagine the kind of economic impetus it will give. And once you get into the percentage of share of this into the international market, it is going to be a great achievement as far as our economy is concerned.
So, Some people say chips, and not the edible one, but the computer chips, are the new oil or the new engines of growth. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. In fact, electronics is, if you look at today, in terms of the economic value, after the oil, it is electronics. And if electronics has to take the place of the oil, then semiconductor has to be one of the major input to that. And hence, semiconductor becomes the oil for the next generation of the oil, not just the electronics.
Now, did we have capabilities sometime in the past in semiconductors?
Yes. In fact, India started early on in 1980s when we set up a 0.35 micron foundry in Chandigarh, Mohali, what is called Semiconductor Corporation of India, SCL. And it worked quite significantly, contributed.
This is 1980s.
80s.
So we were very early movers.
Very early movers. And at that point in time, it contributed significantly to some of our programs which were ongoing at that time, nuclear programs, defense programs and so on. But unfortunately, we had an accident. And because of that accident, we lost that particular facility. For almost about 8 to 9, 10 years, there was no production from that.
What kind of accident happened?
It was a fire accident. You know that semiconductor foundries use large number of chemicals, explosives. So I think probably one of the electrical problems in the electrical supply system created that fire, and we lost that foundry.
And did that give a setback to India in electronic and semiconductor manufacturing?
Certainly. There was a time when India was manufacturing the active devices from Semiconductor Limited, Bharat Electronics, ECIL, and many other private companies used to manufacture passive and active devices like transistors, capacitors, inductors and so on. That was 80s era when we were fairly self-sufficient in many of the electronic devices. The accident that took place, and then of course the complete direction of the electronics manufacturing changed from 350 microns to much better devices, that let us go back into as far as the system is concerned.
We were, as you rightly said, initially using hardware and developing these chips. As the millennium changed and Y2K came on, India became a software power. How did that happen that we moved away from hardware but became software?
I think it is all because of the major change took place because of the onset of internet. Once internet came on the screen, the development of the software became the next imperative, because internet provided large number of services to the people, both in terms of marketing, education, health, everywhere, and India caught on to that particular segment. And that's why we started becoming one of the best country, and even today we hold that position of the software developers, both application and other softwares, and we are probably one of the largest supplier of software services to the entire world.
So will this new policy help bridge the gap which was there?
Yeah, this technology gap is to be filled by this particular policy which has been now announced by the Government of India. What is the gap? We were at 350 microns. Now, after that, in early 2000, we upgraded the SCL foundry to 180 nanometers. Today, our Semiconductor Limited, which is under the Department of Space at the moment, is a foundry which is capable of making devices in 100 nanometer, which is a significant achievement, because if you see the kind of devices which are needed for IoT, for variety of e-mobility, Internet of Things, e-mobility and things like that, they can be readily manufactured at this level. Many of the entertainment systems also can be taken care of. What we are not able to do are the miniaturized devices which are needed in cell phones, supercomputers, computers with high performance. We are not able to manufacture, but still we have a limited capability.
You have been to the semiconductor laboratory under ISRO. Not many people go there also. Can you tell us a little bit about what is the facility, because you did mention what they have.
We have almost every facility which is there, the part of any semiconductor complex. We have oxidation furnaces, we have photolithography, we have dicing machines, we have packaging facility, we have facilities for testing, validation, certification, and we have all the inputs which are required for doing a foundry, like the chemicals, the gases, and the complete clean room facilities to the level of class 10 clean systems are available with us. So it is a state of the art foundry, except for that we don't have the equipment for doing the high resolution nanometer foundry. For example, we need the next generation of the photolithography, which is needed for 10 nanometers or 28 nanometers. We don't have. And I also want to bring out one point here. During this period when we were trying to upgrade the foundry, the world put a lot of embargo on India because of our missile technology control regimes and the nuclear problems, which was responsible for India not acquiring the state of the art foundry when we upgraded SCL to 180 nanometers. We got 180 nanometers with great difficulty, and even today when we are trying to do this in mission, we have to see that what is the best kind of technology we are able to achieve, because there will still be certain controls, maybe due to the political reasons, and it could be also commercial reasons.
But you have fought so much of the technology denial and gave India so much punch by way of your former avatar, and now in your new visionary avatar you are giving different approaches. But what is a fabrication facility, Dr. Saraswat? Can you explain to us? Because for a lay person, he sees only a chip which is...
See, a typical semiconductor manufacturing consists of, first of all, we should manufacture a wafer. Wafer is manufactured from an ingot of silicon, and for that...
And silicon comes from sand.
Silicon comes from sand, and sand has to be purified to a very high level. We call it 9 and 10 and 11 and kind of purity is required. Once that purity is achieved, then you convert into an ingot. From ingot you convert it into a wafer, slice it with a wafer. Then a wafer is made, then it is taken to the foundry where it is converted into, it is done, various processes are done, like oxidation is done, then you do what is called photolithography, you do the etching, after that you make large number of transistors on that chip, millions and billions of transistors on a chip of something like, on a device something like 300 by 300. Billions of transistors are etched on that. After that you slice them, and after that you do packaging, then testing and evaluation. It requires chemicals, it requires gases, it requires furnaces for temperature. So the entire system of foundry is a very complex technology which has got automation to a large extent, because you can imagine in a 300 by 300 space you are etching out billions of transistors of 28 nanometer, 18 nanometer, that kind of spacing. If you do, you can't do it manually. So everything is laser guided, it is done in such a manner that, and then you will have to flip it, bond it one over the other. So you need bonders, de-icers, dicing devices. Most important equipment which is there in the foundry is what is called the lithography. And lithography is the technology which has been going in leaps and bounds, and today what we call as EUL, extra ultraviolet lithography, which is going to be responsible for tomorrow's 7 nanometers, 5 nanometer chips. And which
5 nanometer chips.
Which is being 1 nanometer, we are going to 1 nanometer, which is being denied today.
I am told most of this is situated in a small geography between China, Taiwan and Japan.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Actually, if you look at it, there are major 10 nations which are responsible for holding the key technologies of the semiconductors. You name some of them: China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Germany, UK, US and so on. Now all of them are the major suppliers of the semiconductor technology. But there are only 4 or 5 companies which manufacture all the equipment for that.
Okay.
The equipment required for semiconductor is not by 10 companies, it's only about 4, 5, 6 companies. So you have to purchase equipment. Japan is one of them who manufactures. So you have to purchase equipment, you have to system integrate the whole thing for a particular line which will give you the required performance.
Now, some people also say that when we became a software power and we left hardware out, did we become a colony of China and Taiwan and Japan and these smaller nations in East Asia?
No, software we are not a colony.
Not in software, but in hardware.
In hardware, yes, to some extent, our dependence on import is very high. For example, if you take today's import of semiconductors, our 100, I won't say 100%, but at least 99% semiconductors are imported, whatever we are using. If you talk in terms of the market today, our 5.6 lakh crore is the market of India electronics. And in that, 1.1 lakh crore is the import of semiconductors.
My God, that's major.
That is a kind of number. And out of this 1.1 lakh crore worth of semiconductors, almost entirely 100% comes from various countries. And these are about, and probably one of the major suppliers of semiconductor to India is still China. And you can understand, if we remain dependent on China, what is the kind of security risk we are taking.
Correct.
So it becomes very, very important that a mission like semiconductor mission, which has been announced by our Honorable Prime Minister, should be pursued to become self-reliance.
Dr. Saraswat, it is said that these fabrication facilities, the semiconductor fabrication facilities require a lot of water. And they said recently that there was a drought in Taiwan, so semiconductors became scarce and cars are not available because of, why do they need so much water?
See, right from maintaining the ecosystem inside the foundry, which is the temperature and the humidity, you have to maintain humidity to very, very precise levels. You have to maintain temperatures to very, very precise levels. You have to keep the clean rooms running. The air has to be absolutely clean. So all this cleaning of the various ecosystem devices first needs water. Second thing is, even during the manufacturing process, there are photolithography, etching processes, all these processes, and washing the devices hundreds of times with the best of the water, and water has to be demineralized water to a very high level of purity. That kind of water is needed in large quantities for all the processes which are part of the manufacturing of the semiconductor. So this water gets polluted because of the chemicals and the gases. Finally, it needs to be cleaned up. Most of the time it is taken to affluent places. So pollution control becomes a major requirement for locating the foundries in the country.
Dr. Saraswat, explain to us what a fab is. Will India, as part of this semiconductor initiative and mission, set up its own fab, and give me more details on the mission?
See, the India Semiconductor Mission has been launched with the objective of setting up semiconductor chip manufacturing facilities for different kinds of devices like memory chips, digital chips, analog chips, mixed signal chips, all kinds of devices of this kind in the fabric. That will be called semiconductor fabrication facility. It is expected that we will set up 2 of them. Two of them. Then comes a device, a facility which will be set up for manufacturing various kinds of displays. Displays, you know what we are doing, like we have on a cell phone the display is there, computer there is a display there, TV screen there is a display there. This is also a semiconductor activity, because on the glass you do a lot of chips which are responsible for making the images. So that has to be done. In addition to that, the semiconductor in manufacturing does not stop just by manufacturing the wafer. Then wafer has to be converted into a package, and for that we need to set up what is called ATMPs, assembly, testing, marking and packaging facility. Generally world over, ATMP is done outside the fabrication facility. So we will set up ATMPs in the country, and there will be many not one.
Okay.
There will be many. Third one is for the purpose of meeting the present day new requirement of power electronics, e-mobility, RF systems, satellite communication, 5G, Internet of Things, and variety of robotics. For all this, we need what is called compound semiconductor foundry. That is called run on gallium nitride,
The newer
silicon,
system.
silicon
Correct.
carbide, and any such materials. For this, we already have, by the way, India has got a gallium arsenide foundry in DRDO. You are aware of that.
Yes.
We also have a small R&D fab in IIT Bombay where people are working on gallium nitride. These are R&D fabs. But what we need is now is a commercial semiconductor fab that will be able to meet the requirement of our automobiles, e-mobility as we call it, and also for power industry, because smart grids are coming today. And this is going to be a major market. The growth of this market is going to be much more than the other semiconductors also, I want to tell you. So this will be another match winner for us. So ATMP, compound semiconductor fab, and on top of that, we are going to set up an ecosystem for what is called designing the chips. You are aware that today India is one of the largest design house for chips. More than 20% of the world's chips are being designed in India.
So the Intel inside is really India inside?
These designs are done by Indian engineers sitting in Madras, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, Bombay, Noida, Gurgaon, and such of these places. Now we want to expand this further. That is called fabless foundry. So this mission is going to actually demand all this, and setting up this at a cost of almost about, not at a cost, actually it is the subsidy what the government is, or the incentive what the government has announced to the tune of 76,000 crores.
Which is about $10 billion.
$10 million.
And will this be mostly government or is it private participation?
No, this is the government participation in that. As I mentioned to you, the overall investment on the foundry, on all these foundries could be to the tune of 1,16,000 crores.
Crores.
So part of this is 76,000 crores.
Correct.
So we are expecting that the investors will come with this kind of incentive which the government of India has provided, and they will be able to invest on the Indian foundries for meeting the requirement of this ecosystem.
So have the companies shown interest?
Many, in fact, when the Department of Electronics released the expression of interest early last year, we got offers from almost 26 companies.
Wonderful.
Of course, we identified that only 3 or 4 of them were worth considering. Similarly, for the compound semiconductors also we received offers, and we found 1 or 2 very good in that also. So people are showing interest, and at that point in time this package was not there. Now once this attractive package is available, I am quite certain that many countries, many industries will show a lot of interest in this.
How soon can this be a reality, to have a high quality public private fabrication facility for good quality chips made in India, Atmanirbhar way?
This mission has been designed in such a manner that this mission will operate in an autonomous, in a self-sufficient manner for identifying who is the partner, what should be the kind of incentives we have to give, and also whom to set up, where to set up. Everything is embodied in this. That means all the delays which normally take place in the decision making will be completely cut down. So this will be the faster project. Then there will be an empowered committee a part of this to guide this particular mission on every aspect of how the implementation of this policy has to be done. So these two are the major features of this particular India semiconductor mission. You must have read in the newspapers, our Honorable Minister for Electronics already said, welcome Intel.
Yes.
That is the kind of approach we are going to follow. Anybody who is going to show interest in setting up a foundry in India, we will take him with open arms and will provide all the kind of facets which are required for doing this particular activity, which is unlike the previous policies which were there in 2011-12. And probably because of that lack of kind of invitation, we were not successful in getting the right agencies to work with us. This policy certainly is going to be of great advantage because it will bring transparency, it will bring openness, it will also bring the entire world that yes, India means business now, and they are willing to make the necessary investments and create the right ecosystem for the world's cheapest and the best semiconductors, which will meet the requirement not only of India but globally.
Thanks a lot for speaking to us, Dr. Saraswat. In your earlier avatar, you made India secure by giving us some of the best missile systems and protection devices. In this new avatar of a vision and a visionary leader, you're protecting India and giving Atmanirbhar Bharat for a digital India. Thanks a lot.
Namaskar.
The semiconductor mission promises to give a revolution for digital India. India is already a pharmacy of the world, giving economical medicines and vaccines. This semiconductor mission promises to make India Atmanirbhar in semiconductors. Dependence on foreign suppliers and foreign supply chains is something which India wants to avoid as it goes forward. India is a vast country and India needs to fulfill its semiconductor needs through its own geographical area. Using public-private partnership to give economical, smaller and durable chips is what the mission wants to do. A digital India powered by Indian technology. Keep watching India Science.